Quarterback Monday, and as such, we're going to talk about not one of them, not two of them, not even just three of them. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. And yes, for real, I'm going to at least mention Skylar Thompson, he being the fourth quarterback on the depth chart, he being the one who signed a futures contract, he being the one who will do a whole lot of Duck Hodges type activity in Latrobe and into the preseason. And why do that? Well, because it's taking a back to front look at what I can only hope will be a healthy quarterback dynamic through all four guys. And not just now when it's easy and everybody's pulling for the other, but into the season when that might be more of a challenge. There's actual adversity, there's injuries, and there's a whole lot less focus on just, being plain old nice to each other as opposed to investing every available minute into preparing for that Sunday's football game. For right now, I'll say this, it's off to a pretty encouraging start. And what that means, in great big parentheses, this should be obvious, is that Aaron Rodgers is off to a pretty encouraging start in this regard. That actually should not surprise anyone. I know there's questions about this or that related to him, as there have been over his 20-some seasons in the NFL. But the one thing that you haven't heard really anywhere is that he has some sort of problem with other quarterbacks. In the past few days alone, to throw out a prominent example here, Jordan Love, who obviously been Rodgers' teammate in Green Bay, sent out a public congratulations to Rodgers on signing with the Steelers, and he told reporters in Green Bay of the chance that he's going to have to face Rodgers here in Pittsburgh this coming season. Quote, "It's going to be awesome. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to be on different sides, meeting up. I know we'll talk pregame, things like that, and then hopefully we can exchange jerseys after," end quote. Now, if all you knew about Rodgers and Love is that Rodgers was very open in his dismay, the Packers for having drafted Love, but they also were known to have gotten along really well and have become genuine friends. Now, it's just minicamp to keep reiterating here, but every indication, visible and anecdotal, strongly suggested that Rodgers wasn't about to come in and operate with his nose in the air as it related to the other players at his position. The moment he steps onto the campus, he's the starter. I'd been saying that for months, and I reiterated it last week. Now, that was obviously not going to be an issue with Will Howard. The kid is just glowing about having Rodgers there, and that kind of befits his personality. That was actually kind of cool to see. So if there was going to be any kind of anything, it would have been between Rodgers and Mason Rudolph, and that wasn't going to happen either. Rodgers spent as much time communicating back and forth cordially. Every once in a while, you could tell there was some joking going on between Rudolph, as he did with Howard, as he did with Thompson. Which leads me to Rudolph and to how he's reacted and how he's going to continue to react to this moving forward. Take this from the guy who broke the news that Rudolph was coming back to Pittsburgh. He was not at any stage of this summer misled about the Steelers' intentions. On the day that Omar Khan signed Rudolph, he told him they were trying to get Rodgers. He wasn't 100% sure how that would go. If it wasn't going to go well, Khan informed Rudolph that we have every faith in you to be our starter in that event. We'd be adding you with that in mind. And that was that. There were no other promises made in that conversation from Khan. He did ask Rudolph that if and when he eventually gets interviewed, that he would at least keep in mind that there was a pretty solid chance that Rodgers was going to be coming. And even that's just a common sense move on Khan's part, because what he doesn't want to do, either to the Steelers or to Rudolph, is to put him in a position where Rudolph's there facing cameras and microphones saying, I'm the guy, I'm the man, look at me, this is my turn, I have made it. And then, to have the plug pulled on him in every way, like a few days later. I can tell you unequivocally that Rudolph's mindset is he's going to prepare to be his very best self, and that he's going to be ready to start if and when needed, including at the bang drop of a figurative hat in the middle of a game. And there's no one anywhere who'd have cause to doubt that, given what we saw in 2023, when he wasn't even given backup reps. He was the number 3 guy. He was the scout guy. He wasn't running the Steelers' plays. He was running the other team's plays in practice. And yet, when he actually was needed, all he did was carry his team into the playoffs. So no, to Rodgers' credit, to Rudolph's credit, I'll throw Howard and Thompson in there as well. And to Khan's credit, a dynamic has been set up here that's off to a nice start. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from David, and it's in response to the Daily Shot from this past Friday, in which I re-identified Broderick Jones as still being the Steelers' biggest issue heading into the 2025 season, to which David says, DK, isn't WR2 still the biggest issue? Even when the Steelers picked up Mike Williams, they didn't seem to want to use him. Even after he won the game against Washington. The whole moving train thing. David, you actually weren't the only one to bring this up as a counter. I'm not really sure how to respond to that, because I don't disagree with you. It's just that when I was identifying biggest issue, I meant biggest issue among, existing players, guys who are already here. And unlike some, and you're entitled to feel about this how you'd like, I'm not of the mind that WR2 is in-house. And take that from somebody who loves Cal and Austin, from someone who really likes what I've both seen and heard from Roman Wilson. I don't believe that Omar Khan is done at this position. I do believe that he's done at the left tackle position. So that was the distinction that I'm sure I could have made a lot more clearly than I did. Where WR2 is concerned, there are a couple of things to bring up, both of which I think are important to this. One is that it really is possible for the Steelers to think a lot of both Austin and Wilson and recognize that they don't necessarily fit the Arthur Smith model for that WR2. Now, I've been told unequivocally that Cal is that fit for WR3 in this scheme. Don't think of it as a depth chart. Think of it as X's on your dry erase board. It's a position, or at least it could be discussed as a position. Now, could Smith be challenged? Listen, these are the wide receivers you have. Whatever your scheme is, try something else. Yes, that could occur. But part of the reason that I feel as strongly as I do that Khan is going to get it done this time is that I have gotten the very strong sense from the inside that Khan recognized that he got burned last season. He got burned maybe with an overreach in the Brandon Ayuk situation, and then as the season went along, when not as much was available, certainly not at a price that Khan would have found palatable, then George Pickens goes down. And that's the real issue here. It's DK Metcalf. If he goes down, there are no internal answers. Now, Metcalf's a tough player to replace regardless. And you're not about to bring in a second Metcalf. Why? There isn't a second Metcalf. But you absolutely have to have someone else capable of doing some of the same things that Metcalf does. And that, to go to the other player that you referenced, David, is where you need to shoot higher than a slightly older Mike Williams. I am of the belief, and that's all it can be. I'm not making a prediction here. I'm of the belief that Khan wants someone who's of that caliber, someone who is of meaningful impact. That's why I don't look at WR2 and circle it in big red ink the way that someone else might. I see that position as eventually getting filled. I've just heard way too much from the inside to believe otherwise. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We'll do another one of these tomorrow. Don't forget, we have a double shot of Steelers coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern today. That's on our YouTube channel and, of course, on our own DK Pittsburgh Sports app and website. Hope you can join us for that.